Tonight, my granddaughter discovered the heartwarming secret that turned Grandpa's life changing. Sara couldn't believe her eyes as she cracked open the dusty old box in her grandpa's attic. It was filled with letters, each one more touching than the last. The musty smell of worn paper mixed with memories from years gone by. As she slipped her fingers over the fragile sheets, the weight of their importance crashed over her like a wave. Here were words of gratitude from veterans, brave men who had weathered storms much harsher than her own family was facing. These letters spoke of gratitude, healing, and a bond forged in the warmth of Grandpa Joe's hardware store. As she read, her chest tightened with a mix of pride and sorrow. Each story revealed a man who had taken the time to listen, to empathize, and to help find a path forward when all seemed lost. She read about a soldier who came home from Vietnam, haunted by his memories, and how Grandpa Joe had not only given him a set of nails but had also provided a safe space to talk. There was another from a young man who found solace in fixing a broken window after losing his brother in combat. Reading their struggles and triumphs, Sara felt a flicker of hope ignite deep within her. Just then, a heavy burden settled back over her heart, reminding her that the disappointment swirled around them like a storm. The foreclosure notice dangled in the air, a dark cloud over their family. Grandpa Joe's beloved store, the cornerstone of their community, was on the brink. She glanced down the hallway where her mom, Emily, worked 2 jobs just to keep their heads above water. The sacrifices were palpable, etched into her mother's tired eyes. Sara felt like a burden, an anchor pulling them all down, trapped in feelings of inadequacy. Before she could ruminate on this any longer, the sound of footsteps shuffled in from below. Moments later, Grandpa Joe himself trudged up the stairs, eyes bright but burdened with worry. He opened the attic door and paused at the sight of the box. "Ah, my old letters," he said softly, a faraway look in his eyes. Sharing his stories about the people he had helped all those years was like peeling back layers of who he was. "Did you know that sometimes I measure success not by money, but by the good I do?" he admitted, his voice strength marked by emotion. It struck a chord with Sara. She had never quite understood why her grandpa was so dedicated, why his work meant so much to him. Not until now. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That night, as Sara drifted off to sleep, thoughts raced in her mind. The outside world felt heavy with uncertainty, yet inside her chest was a newfound sense of purpose. She wasn't just a teen caught in turmoil, she was part of something bigger, the legacy of love and kindness that her Grandpa Joe represented. The next day, newspaper clippings and conversation buzzed around town, whispers of a fundraiser to save Joe's store began. Would the community step up in his time of need? And would Sara live up to the family legacy that stretched far beyond financial struggles? Hearts intertwined, the stage was set for a battle of hope against despair. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over their small Midwestern town, Sara felt one truth resonate louder than the rest: the fight for Grandpa Joe meant the fight to redefine what it truly meant to be rich. The morning after the revelation about the fundraiser, the air buzzed with an energy Sara had never felt before. She awoke with a knot of excitement curling in her stomach, a stark contrast to the heaviness that had weighed her down for weeks. She could sense something shifting in her small town, a wave of hope that seemed to rise with the sun. As she hurried downstairs, the smell of pancakes greeted her. Emily flipped them with a practiced hand, but her brow furrowed. "I heard about the fundraiser, Sara. A lot of people are talking," her mom said, her voice tinged with a mix of enthusiasm and concern. "But I don't want you to get your hopes too high. You know it's hard to get everyone on board." Sara nodded, feeling the weight of her mom's worry. "I'm going to help. I want Grandpa's store to stay open. He deserves it. The whole town deserves it." Emily paused, her spatula hovering over the pan. Just remember, honey, it's not always about winning. It's about the effort we put in. People see that. Sara felt her heart swell. Her mom always knew how to simplify complex feelings. But this time, it felt different. This effort mattered. She finished her breakfast, enthusiasm bubbling inside her, energized by thoughts of what they could achieve together. After school, Sara walked through town, her mind racing with ideas. The first stop was the local diner, where the owner, Mrs. Baxter, had known Grandpa Joe since before Sara was born. "Hey, Mrs. Baxter. Did you hear about the fundraiser?" she asked excitedly, leaning over the counter. "I did, dear. It's a wonderful idea. I'd be glad to donate some pies for the event," Mrs. Baxter replied with a warm smile, pulling a notepad from under the counter. Each acknowledgement felt like a thread weaving their community tighter. Encouraged, Sara visited more shops, her confidence building with every conversation. Mr. Henderson from the bakery offered free bread for the fundraiser, while Mrs. Kim from the florist promised she'd bring flowers to beautify the space. Each generous act fueled Sara's passion, igniting a fire in her gut. It felt like the town was rallying, reawakening a spirit of togetherness. By the end of the day, Sara found herself at the hardware store. Grandpa Joe was reorganizing shelves, a pencil tucked behind his ear, drawing sketches of new ideas for displays. She could see the worry etched on his face, even as he tried to hide it with a smile. "Grandpa," she said, her voice firm yet soft, "we're doing a fundraiser to save the store. The whole town is in on it. People are stepping up." His eyes widened, a mixture of disbelief and joy flashing across his weathered features. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. But it's a big task for a young girl like you." Sara shook her head. "No, it's not just me. It's all of us. We're part of something bigger now." She could see emotion welling in his eyes. The weight of years spent alone in his struggles began to lift, replaced by the warm light of hope radiating from his granddaughter. As they planned together, Sara felt a rush of determination. But even as the excitement built within her, doubts lurked around the corners of her mind. Was it enough? As they laid the groundwork for the fundraiser, the thought gnawed at her. What if all their efforts fell short? The excitement of the preparations was soon interrupted by a knock at the door. They turned to see Mrs. Anderson, a key leader in their community, standing on the threshold, her expression serious. "Can I come in? I need to talk to you both about something important." Sara's heart pounded. What could it be? Her instincts screamed that they were on the brink of something monumental, but the uncertainty of that knock left her hanging on the edge. What did Mrs. Anderson have to say? Was it a new challenge or the very support they needed? Mrs. Anderson stepped inside, a palpable weight resting on her shoulders. The warm glow of the living room contrasted sharply with her furrowed brow, the usual sparkle in her eyes dimmed by concern. "Thank you for letting me in," she began, her voice steady but low. "I wanted to discuss the fundraiser. There's something you both should know." Sara exchanged a worried glance with Grandpa Joe. The knot in her stomach tightened. Mrs. Anderson had always been a pillar of strength in the community. If she was concerned, then perhaps it was serious. Mrs. Anderson continued, "I've heard whispers. Not everyone in town is on board with the fundraiser. Some believe it won't work, or worse, that it should never have been started at all." Sara felt her heart drop. "What do you mean?" "People are coming together. They want to help." "Yes, Sara, and that's beautiful," Mrs. Anderson said, her voice softening. "But there's fear. Fear that they might lose money or time on something that has no guarantee of success. All I'm saying is, we need to rally those who believe in us. We can't let doubt fester." Grandpa Joe shuffled his feet, a weight pressing deep in his chest. "What if Mrs. Anderson is right, Sara? Maybe I should just let it go. It might be easier." "No!" Sara exclaimed, her voice firm despite the tremor beneath. We cannot give up, Grandpa. Everyone is counting on us. We have to show them what this store means to the town. They may not see it yet, but it matters. Mrs. Anderson smiled at Sara, clearly impressed by her passion. You have the right spirit. And that so many shops are willing to support you is a wonderful sign. But we need to communicate that energy to the rest of the town. A flicker of hope ignited within Sara. What if we hosted a meeting? An open invitation for everyone to come together, to share ideas? We need to unite everyone, and give them a reason to believe. Yes. Grandpa Joe agreed, the tension starting to lift from his shoulders. Let us make that happen. Let us invite the town to be a part of this. Mrs. Anderson nodded, her confidence building. That's a fantastic idea, Sara. I'll help you organize it. We can spread the word quickly. A gathering like that could motivate those who are hesitant. It'll show them the true heart of this effort. With a plan beginning to form, Sara's spirit soared. The weight of doubt didn't disappear, but it became easier to push aside in the excitement of what lay ahead. They shared ideas and strategies as the afternoon slipped away, finding strength in each other and the community around them. But as the evening wore on, a thought nagged at Sara. What if this meeting failed? What if the people they invited didn't show up or didn't care? Would everything she fought for come crashing down? As they washed dishes together afterwards, Sara couldn't shake the feeling. Grandpa, what if we can't convince them? What then? He paused, drying his hands on a towel. Sometimes, Sara, it's not about convincing people but about showing them the truth. The truth of how much we can achieve together. And while we may not win everyone's hearts at once, those who care will always find a way to support. Sara nodded, finding comfort in his words. But she knew the road wouldn't be easy. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the living room, followed by the yelp of a neighbor's child playing outside. They rushed to the window, breathless with worry. Outside, a small group of kids had gathered around something sprawled on the ground. He's been hurt. Someone shouted, as the children began to run around in confusion. Sara's pulse raced again, a mix of panic and urgency flooding her heart. We need to help. The momentum of her mood shifted instantly. This moment wasn't just about them anymore. It was about community, coming together in unexpected ways. What had happened out there? How could Sara turn this urgency into another opportunity to connect? With a determined glance at Grandpa, she anticipated taking the next step, no matter how daunting it might be. Let us go. She said, rushing towards the door, her mind racing. With the possibilities unfolding before her. What awaited them could change everything. Sara flung open the door, her heart drumming loudly in her chest. Outside, chaos unfolded before her eyes. A swarm of children formed a tight circle around a small figure lying on the grassy patch. Laughter had died down, replaced by confused murmurs and worried expressions. The cheerful chatter of the neighborhood had turned into a hushed, anxious whisper. Stand back, kids. Grandpa Joe commanded, stepping forward and instinctively taking charge. He pushed through the crowd, his hands steady but quickening with urgency. What's going on? He asked, kneeling beside the boys sprawled on the ground. The child was no older than 8, tears streaming down his cheeks, fingers clasping his ankle which was twisted awkwardly. It hurts, Mr. Joe. The boy whimpered, his voice a fragile whisper fighting through the pain. I fell when I was trying to jump the fence. Sara knelt beside Grandpa Joe, her instincts kicking in. Can you move your foot? She asked gently, careful not to make him panic more than he already was. That he shook his head, tears pooling in the corners of his eyes. It hurts too much. Okay, she soothed. We're here to help you. Just hang on. She glanced around the crowd. Does anyone have a phone? We need to call his parents or someone who can help. A tall girl from the back stepped forward. I can get someone. She dashed off, determination on her face. Grandpa Joe remained focused, examining the boy's ankle without moving it too much. "You're going to be all right. Just stay calm. With a little help, you'll be back on your feet in no time." His voice was steady, a comforting presence in the rising chaos. Sara took a deep breath, glancing at the children around them. Their faces mirrored worry mixed with admiration. They looked to Grandpa Joe as if he held all the answers. She felt a wave of emotion rise within her. This was the community spirit they had been discussing. This was what they could build together. "Everyone, can you make space?" she called out. Let him breathe. And we could help by gathering something soft for his head." The children sprung into action, moving with purpose. Someone ran to grab a jacket, another dashed to get a soft toy. The scene shifted from panic to cooperation, and Sara felt the energy around her change. It wasn't just about them helping one child, it was about bringing everyone together, working towards a common goal. Within moments, the boy was propped up on a makeshift pillow of jackets. Soon after, the girl returned with the boy's mother, who rushed over, her face pale with concern, but a flicker of relief washed over her upon seeing her son. The mother knelt beside him, brushing back his hair. "Oh baby, I'm so glad you're all right," she exclaimed, tears in her eyes. "I was so worried." "They helped me, Mom," the boy said, his voice small but proud. "Sara and Mr. Joe." The gratitude in her eyes filled Sara with warmth. It felt like something deep within her had shifted. Just a moment ago, she had doubts about the fundraiser and whether she could unify the town. Now, standing there, it was clear to her that the dialogue was alive, and it began with small acts of kindness. As the paramedics arrived to take over, Sara lingered, feeling the energy of the community around her, the urgency evolving into a bond. People were smiling, reassuring each other, sharing relays of concern wrapped in laughter and support. "Just think," she whispered to her grandpa, her voice light yet earnest. "This could be the spark we need. If we can come together for him, we can do it for the fundraiser too." "Exactly, Sara," he grinned, his confidence visibly restored. "You're right. You now see it, don't you? It's in the small moments that we see big changes." In that moment, Sara understood it wasn't just about the event anymore. It was about instilling hope, creating connections, and nurturing the very essence of their community, which pulsed with life and resilience. But just as she felt ready to take the next step forward, a sudden shout broke through the air, a voice laden with disbelief. "You won't believe what the mayor just announced." The crowd turned toward the source, and Sara felt her heart skip a beat. What news could shift everything again? She clung to Grandpa Joe's arm, eager to find out what awaited them next. The crowd parted slightly, and a hush fell over everyone. Sara's heart raced as she strained to catch a glimpse of the tall girl who had made the announcement. Her fingers gripped Grandpa Joe's arm tighter, tension filled the air like static before a storm. "What is going on?" someone whispered. The girl stood atop a rock, her hair catching the late afternoon sun. "The mayor said they're going to cut funding for the community center. He wants to build a parking lot instead." Her voice cracked, letting the weight of the news settle among the group like a heavy fog. Gasps spread through the crowd as worried faces turned to one another, confusion and anger mixing in the air. The community center wasn't just a building, it was the heart of their neighborhood, the place where kids played, moms formed groups, and everyone came together during holidays. "This can't be happening." Another voice chimed in, filled with disbelief. "We need that center." Sara looked at Grandpa Joe, his expression shifting from calm to concern. She could see the thoughts racing through his mind, just as they were through hers. That center meant everything. It was where they held events, celebrations, and even came together in times of trouble. "Can we change his mind?" A small voice broke through, a girl from the crowd standing up straight, her eyes filled with determination. Others began nodding, a gathering storm of defiance rising among them. "How can we make him see how much we need it?" someone else called out, that sense of urgency sparking an old fire for change. Sara's heart fluttered. This was it. This was the moment to rally everyone, to bring them back to the spirit they had just shared in the chaos of helping the boy. "I think we can organize something," she said, stepping forward. The crowd quieted, turning their attention fully to her. Grandpa Joe's hand squeezed her shoulder, encouraging her to continue. "If we come together like we did for that boy, we can show the mayor how much the community center means to all of us." The murmur of agreement rippled through the group. "What if we gathered everyone and made banners?" Another child suggested, their eyes sparkling with the idea. "And we could make signs and have a protest." Sara felt a surge of energy. "Yes. Let us plan to meet at the center tomorrow. We'll write letters, we'll talk to people, and we'll make sure everyone knows how important this is." Cheers erupted from the group, a chorus of determined voices refusing to be ignored. Grandpa Joe beamed with pride as he watched Sara channel everyone's frustration into action. It wasn't just about saving a building, it was about nurturing what their community stood for: unity, support, and a shared purpose, but as excitement swelled, it was punctuated by an unsettling thought. What if it wasn't enough? What if the mayor didn't care about their voices? What if they couldn't stop the demolition? "Remember, we have to be respectful but firm," Sara reminded the crowd, seeking to ground their enthusiasm with a sound plan. "Let us stand up for ourselves, and let us show him how we feel. We all want a better future for our community." While faces radiated hope around her, Sara felt seeds of doubt planting themselves in her heart. She wanted to believe in their power, but what if the world outside their bubble proved too daunting? As she caught Grandpa Joe's eye, she saw a glimmer of assurance, a reminder that she wasn't alone. They would face this together, just like they had with the boy. With mounting excitement and determination, Sara turned back to the crowd. "Tomorrow, let us gather. We can do this." Just as the crowd began to disperse, a new voice echoed in the distance, a voice dripping with authority. "What's all the noise about?" The mayor himself appeared, striding confidently toward them. Sara's stomach dropped. Would he squash their hopes before they had a chance to build momentum? As everyone turned to face him, the air crackled with a mix of fear and determination. Tomorrow would mean everything. Would they be heard, or would it all fall apart? Sara felt a chill creep up her spine as the mayor approached. There he was, tall and imposing, the very embodiment of authority. She could see the smirk forming on his lips, a wisp of arrogance clouding his brow. The crowd tightened around her, a sea of tense faces and whispered fears. "What are you all gathered here for?" he demanded, his voice booming like thunder. "Is this a place for unruly children to run wild?" The knot in Sara's stomach twisted tighter. She wanted to scream, to tell him they were not just children, they were neighbors, families, and friends who cared deeply about their community. But as the silence lingered, a weighty pause anchored her voice. "Sir, we're discussing the community center," the brave girl at the front spoke up, her voice shaking but clear. "We heard you want to close it down." The mayor's brow furrowed. "I'm sure you all know it's important to make space for growth," he replied, waving a dismissive hand. "Parking lots help local businesses thrive. You can't live in the past." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sara felt anger rising like bile in her throat. How could he dismiss their gathering so easily? But what about all the people who use the center? Another voice chimed in. "We have activities for all ages, from toddlers to seniors. It's a hub for our community." Seeing people rallying behind her made Sara's heart race again, though fear still lingered. The mayor shifted uncomfortably, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. "I appreciate your passion, but sometimes sacrifices must be made for progress. We can't keep holding on to outdated places," he said, turning to walk away. Sara's mind raced as she tried to think of how to refute him. She took a deep breath, her heart thundering in her chest. "What if we show you how much the center means to us?" The crowd murmured in agreement. People began to share ideas and concerns, descriptions of birthday parties and special events that had filled the center with laughter. "Let us gather stories. Someone shouted. We can collect memories and testimonials from the people who love the center. Yes. Sara exclaimed, hoping to keep the momentum going. We could invite everyone to write down their favorite memories. Let us make a giant scrapbook. We can present it to the mayor. A wave of excitement swept through the gathering. Grandpa Joe nodded approvingly, and Sara caught a glimpse of determination in his eyes as proud smiles spread across other faces. Okay, but we need to be ready for anything, one parent pointed out. What if he ignores our testimonies? What if he doesn't want to change his mind? That question hung in the air like a dark cloud, and Sara's heart thudded heavily. They needed more than just words. They needed a plan that would make an impact. We'll invite the whole neighborhood. Let us fill the center with voices of support, she declared, her voice gaining strength, bolstered by the unity surrounding her. The mayor needs to see that our community is alive and thriving because of that center. The crowd erupted in cheers, waves of hope pushing them forward. For a fleeting moment, Sara felt invincible, as if all of their combined energies could topple the mayor's authority. But doubt lingered at the edges of her thoughts, uninvited yet persistent. Grandpa Joe gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever happens, remember that even when voices are quiet, love for our community speaks volumes, he said, his gaze steady. Before Sara could respond, the mayor turned back around, interrupting their moment. Very well, then. You may have your stories. But don't expect me to change my mind easily. With a self-assured grin, he began to walk away, leaving a haunting promise hanging in the air. They would have their chance to change things, but how hard would they have to push to be heard? As the crowd began to disperse, excitement mixed with a trepidation that settled deeply in Sara's heart. Tomorrow could change everything, but would it take more than just memories to truly be heard? It felt like the calm before a storm. Would the waves of their voices be strong enough to make the mayor listen? Or was the fight just beginning? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the town square as people made their way home. Sara lingered, her heart still racing with the energy of the gathering. She felt alive, but the weight of uncertainty clung to her like a heavy fog. Would her plan, their collective voices, truly make a difference? As she walked home, she couldn't shake the image of the mayor's smirk. It was a challenge, one that ignited a fire within her. She arrived at Grandpa Joe's house, where he was tending to his garden. The sight of him kneeling in the dirt, surrounded by blooms bursting with color, brought a wave of comfort over her. Hey there, kiddo, he said, looking up with a smile that dispelled some of her doubt. How did the meeting go? Sara plopped down on the lawn beside him, her fingers running over the cool blades of grass. We have a plan. We're going to gather stories, memories from everyone. It's going to be a scrapbook showing how much the community center means to us. Grandpa Joe nodded, pride radiating from him. That sounds like a wonderful idea. The power of personal stories can be overwhelming. He paused, then added, you know, I've got a story of my own to share. Curiosity piqued, Sara sat up straighter. What do you mean? He took a deep breath, his gaze drifting to the horizon. A long time ago, before you were born, I was in a similar fight. We had a community project, a music hall, everyone loved it. But the mayor back then. He trailed off, a distant look in his eyes. What happened? She pressed. They wanted to tear it down for a parking lot, just like your center. I was just a young man then, but I remember the resolve I felt. We organized, brought our stories to the table. It didn't look good at first, but one morning, I received something unexpected, a letter of support from the mayor's own mother. She used to perform there in her youth. Sara's eyes widened. That's amazing. So did it work? He chuckled softly. In the end, it wasn't just the letter that changed the tide. It was the voices of our community, coming together. The love ran deep, and it swayed even the hardest of hearts. He leaned closer, a wise smile on his face. You see, sometimes the very people opposing you hold a connection to what you're trying to save. It takes the courage to uncover those threads. Inspired, Sara felt a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe we should reach out to the mayor's office. Find out if we can talk to him again, bring in our stories. That's the spirit. But remember, Sara, Grandpa Joe warned gently, never underestimate the power of empathy, even from an opponent. Sometimes, simply recognizing shared memories can create a bridge. They spent the evening preparing their ideas, creating flyers to encourage others to join in on the story collection. The excitement was palpable, and each plan felt like another piece of hope stitched into the quilt of their community's heart. As dusk settled, the glow of the streetlights flickered on, illuminating the small town. Sara felt a rush of determination. What if they could connect with someone in the mayor's circle? What if they could show him their scrapbook in person, face to face? And then, suddenly, she paused. Grandpa, what if the mayor has a story too? What if he once loved that center but forgot? He smiled knowingly. You might just be onto something there, my dear. Sometimes, the hardest people to reach are those who have lost their way. As they wrapped up for the night, Sara couldn't shake the feeling of something greater at stake, an unknown truth waiting to be discovered. Tomorrow promised more than just the stories, it held the potential for reconciliation. Would the mayor's forgotten memories surface, and would they find a way to connect? Sara couldn't wait to find out. Sara woke up the next morning with the sun rising through her window like a spotlight on her dreams. Today was the day they would set their plan in motion. She dressed quickly, her mind whirling with ideas, and rushed to the kitchen where Grandpa Joe was already brewing a pot of coffee. "Mornin', kiddo. Ready for the big adventure?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with excitement. "Absolutely. I've been thinking about how to reach the mayor. Maybe if we framed our approach around connection and memories, it would resonate more," she said, grabbing a piece of toast and slathering it with jam. "A bridge of shared history, huh? I like that." Grandpa Joe replied, leaning back in his chair, hands folded. "It's all about showing how those memories matter." They finished breakfast and made their way to the community center. Sara's heart raced with every step. Arriving, she found a group of enthusiastic neighbors already gathering. They greeted each other with cheer, their excitement lifting the atmosphere. After a short huddle, Sara took center stage. "All right everyone, here's the plan. We're collecting stories today. Let us reminisce about what this center means to us. When we share these stories, we can bring them to the mayor and appeal to his heart." The chatter of agreement buzzed through the group. They set up stations around the center, some with chairs, others with tables full of paper, crayons, and art supplies. People started sharing laughter, joy, and even tears as they recalled the dances, game nights, and quiet afternoons spent in the center. Each story was a thread in the fabric of their community. After an hour, Sara felt a surge of pride looking at the turning pile of stories. It was substantial, a collection of heartfelt memories painted in vivid colors of joy and nostalgia. But just as she was about to suggest the next step, her eyes landed on Mrs. Thompson, a woman known for her soft voice but sharp opinions. The older woman stood against the wall, her brow furrowed. "Everything all right, Mrs. Thompson?" Sara asked, stepping towards her. Mrs. Thompson took a deep breath, her expression softening. "I have a story, but it's not about the center. It's about the mayor." Sara's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "He used to come here, years ago. Back when I was in junior high. He played the guitar in our little band. We wouldn't have been able to perform at that festival if he hadn't shown up and played for free." Her voice wavered, memories swelling in her gaze. "He loved this place once." Sara's mind swirled. A connection. Here was the bridge they needed. "Do you think we could reach out to him? Maybe he'd remember those days?" Mrs. Thompson hesitated, glancing away. "I don't know. I think he has forgotten. But maybe." Realization dawned on Sara. We could invite him to see everything we're collecting. Show him what it meant to us. Yes. If he could see how much this matters to all of us. Mrs. Thompson's voice trailed off, her excitement growing. Sara felt a rush again, the kind that flooded her with confidence. They needed to act fast. Let us draft a letter, inviting him to come back. We'll show him our scrapbook and remind him of those moments. Maybe it'll spark something. As she rallied the community to write their letters, hope swirled around her. But, deep down, a wave of anxiety crested. Is the mayor even willing to reconnect? As they wrapped up writing, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows once more. The weight of the unknown sat heavy again, but before she could dwell on it, Grandpa Joe caught her eye, nodding with encouragement. Just remember, Sara, he said, sometimes the hardest battles lead to the sweetest victories. The looming task ahead felt monumental, but Sara's heart pounded with hope. Would they find a way to reach the mayor? Would he be open to awakening the memories long buried within him? In her gut, she felt the stirring of something profound. Tomorrow would reveal if they could rekindle that spark. Would the mayor stand on their bridge or let it crumble? The next day dawned with a fresh sense of urgency. Sara couldn't shake the tension in her chest. She had spent the night tossing and turning, dreaming of the mayor's approval and the center's revival. With a determined spirit, she jumped out of bed, ready to take on the world. Ready? Grandpa Joe asked, sitting at the table with his coffee. Always that steady support. Sara nodded. Today is the day we make our case. They set off for the community center, her heart racing with anticipation. As they entered, the familiar scent of old wood and fresh paper enveloped her. A flurry of activity greeted them. People were hanging colorful stories on strings, creating a vibrant tapestry of memories. The place sparkled with hope. Look at this, Grandpa Joe said, pointing to a group of children excitedly drawing pictures of the center. This is what it's all about. Sara smiled, the sight filling her with an overwhelming feeling of joy and responsibility. She gathered everyone around the main table. Okay, everyone. I know we've all worked so hard on our stories and artwork, but we need to make it that much more special. What do you mean? A neighbor shouted from the back. We're going to film a short video to send to the mayor. Let us give him a glimpse into our lives here. The idea electrified the group. People quickly arranged chairs and set up a phone on a tripod. As the camera rolled, Sara stood at the forefront, her heart pounding. This is Sara, she said, nervous but determined. And we're here from the Willow Creek Community Center, a place that has brought us together for laughter, bonds, and growth. Today, we want to share our experiences with someone important. We want to remind Mayor Collins what this place means to us. As neighbors shared their stories, tears glistened in Sara's eyes. Each memory poured out like a river of love, stories of friendships formed, dances celebrated, and struggles overcome. Remember the Halloween party? Someone shouted. Oh, and the bake-offs. Another chimed in. The laughter was infectious, creating a bubble of warmth around them. Sara noticed Mrs. Thompson sitting quietly, her face deep in thought. She had been so alive yesterday, sharing memories, but today seemed different. After a moment, she had enough. I want to share my story. Her voice broke the warm bubble, shaking with emotion. Everyone turned to her, and she stood slowly, gathering her thoughts. You see, I stopped believing in this community a long time ago. But when the mayor played here, it reminded me of what it used to be, the joy, the magic of connection. If he could just see what this place means today, it could change everything for us. The room fell silent, her vulnerability wrapping around them like a blanket. After a few moments, Sara stepped forward. That's why we're inviting him back, to bring back the magic. Their words echoed through the center, solidifying their mission. The energy felt electric. They would not just invite him back, they would show him the strength and spirit of their community. As they wrapped up filming, a flutter of unease emerged. What if the mayor didn't care? What if he had moved on from those days? Whatever happens, we've done something incredible, Grandpa Joe said, catching her eyes. This is about hope, not just a letter. Later, as they watched the footage, the camaraderie was unmistakable. But as they prepared to send the video to the mayor, a weight settled over Sara. What if he doesn't respond? She whispered, anxiety creeping back in. Then we keep fighting. We show him again. Grandpa Joe spoke firmly, squeezing her shoulder with pride. The moment felt like it could be a turning point. The sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the community center, filling Sara with simultaneous dread and determination. Would the mayor acknowledge their plea? Would he take the time to remember? Stories had been written, but now a new one was unfolding, one that could change everything. The heart of their community beat fast with hope. Tomorrow would reveal if their efforts bore fruit or if they needed to fight harder. For what they believed in. Would they endure, or would doubt seep back in? The next morning arrived shrouded in a cool mist, an atmosphere of anticipation wrapping around Willow Creek. Sara stood by the window, the early light filtering through, illuminating her restless thoughts. Had their video made an impact? Would Mayor Collins feel moved to respond? Breakfast passed in a blur as Grandma Joe's gentle presence reassured her. We've taken a big step, and that's what counts, kiddo, he reminded her, lightening her spirits. There was strength growing in him, too, ignited by the spirit of community they were nurturing together. After school, Sara raced back to the community center, her heart a drumbeat of uncertainty. Would the mayor even care about their lives? Would he see the beauty in their shared stories? As she walked into the center, the familiar scent of paint and paper greeted her. A cluster of neighbors milled about, buzzing with whispered hopes. Any news yet? Someone asked, scanning Sara's face. Not yet, she replied, her voice thick with nerves. The feeling of exhilaration mingled with anxiety left her feeling lightheaded. Just then, a commotion burst through the entrance. The familiar figure of Mrs. Anderson strode in, waving a piece of paper. "He's coming. He's coming," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling bright with excitement. A ripple of shock and buzz cascaded through the room. Their voices crescendoed into joyous chaos. "What? The mayor?" Sara asked, her heart jumping. "Yes. He said he'll come tomorrow. To meet with everyone." Mrs. Anderson explained, showing off the letter in her hand. "He received your video and was moved. He wants to hear your stories in person." The air crackled with enthusiasm. Laughter and cheers erupted. For the first time in ages, Sara felt the giddy rush that hope starts to breathe when it takes root. But along with the thrill came a wave of weight. This was real. Tomorrow would define their fight and dreams. What if he didn't change his mind? Grandpa Joe stepped forward, a twinkle in his eye. "This is it, everyone. We need to be prepared. Let us make the center shine, and let him see what we're all about." The group buzzed with energy as they rallied to prepare for the mayor's visit. Tables were set up with the stories they had gathered, food was baked, and decorations were hung. Each person carried pride in their heart, a palpable sense of unity alive in the atmosphere. As night descended, Sara assembled in the center, feeling a newfound sense of purpose wash over her. She watched their community prepare. The laughter of children echoed in the halls, and conversations hummed like a melody, yet, seconds before sleep, uncertainty tapped at her heart. Was it that easy? Could they really change the mayor's mind? Minutes turned into hours before she finally found solace in sleep, visions of tomorrow swirling in her dreams. Morning light spilled into the center, bright and full of promise. As townsfolk gathered, Sara emerged from her thoughts, a mix of nerves and excitement flooding her veins. She caught Grandpa Joe's eye as he approached, floodlit by a kind smile. "Today's the day. Regardless of the outcome, we've made our voices heard," he said, and that simple affirmation filled her heart. One by one, the neighbors stepped into the center, faces alight with hope. Together, they prepared to unfold their stories for the mayor, to shine a light on everything the community center meant to them. As the clock ticked closer to their scheduled meeting, hearts beat in anticipation. And then, just as a hush swept over the crowd, the mayor stepped through the door, look of curiosity painted on his face. It was an atmosphere charged with raw emotion, anger, fear, joy, and a willingness to connect. "Thank you for inviting me," he said, folding his hands at the front of the room. "This community center means a lot to many people, and I can see that." Sara stepped forward, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We're here today to show you how much this center means to us and to remind you that it's never just been about buildings. It's about community. One after another, stories intermingled like the vibrant colors around them, portraying shared laughter, hope, connections forged through hardship and support." Sara saw the mayor listening, really listening, and hope flickered alive as the old walls of uncertainty began to crack. After the last story was told, silence fell like a blanket over the space. The mayor took a deep breath, and something shifted in his posture. "I must admit, I didn't realize how much this center resonated in your lives," he confessed, a hint of humility softening his expression. "Thank you for sharing your memories. But could that really mean something?" Hearts held their breaths as the room waited for his next words. "I need to think about this further, but your stories have changed my perspective. I see the importance now." A spark of hope ignited, filling the air with warmth. Grandpa Joe turned to Sara, a proud smile lighting his face. They had done it. Together, with the strength of their community, they moved mountains in just one day. As the mayor left, promising to take their stories to heart, Sara felt light, filled with the tranquil clarity that love and support create. And as the crowd slowly dispersed, voices full of laughter echoed through the halls of the center that held the very heart of Willow Creek alive. Sara beamed at Grandpa Joe, tears brimming in her eyes of joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of pride in what they achieved together. Today marked a turning point not just for the community center, but for all of them. They realized hope wasn't a solitary endeavor. It flourishes when shared, igniting a fire in everyone willing to believe in something bigger. As they cleaned up and reminisced about the day, Sara caught a glimpse of the future, bright and inviting. She knew it wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about a family, a community fortified in love, kindness, and an unwavering spirit. This was just the beginning. Don't wait not even one more second. If you want to be part of more inspiring stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Hit that bell and mark all notifications to stay connected. Leave a like right now to support our journey and feed the algorithm. And comment below your feels about this uplifting ending. Lastly, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this amazing transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Let us spread joy and hope together.